Two teenage girls walking a trail turns into a nightmare when least expected. Welcome, my name is Rob and I will be your host for this evening. I'm a short story writer, and here on my channel every single Friday we cover a chapter from one of those tales. However, on Wednesdays we get into something a little bit more darker, a little bit more sinister. See, my stories are creepy and scary, but they're not true. They're made up. The most terrifying horrors come from the real terrors lurking in our everyday lives. The events that take place to people just like you and me, especially those least expectant. Today we are looking into the Delphi, Indiana murders. Welcome to my series, Far From Fiction. It was a cool, clear morning on February 13, 2017, in the quiet town of Delphi, Indiana, nestled along the banks of Deer Creek. Delphi had always been a peaceful place, where families felt safe and kids roamed free, but this day would change everything. Best friends, Liberty German, known as Libby, who was 14 years old, and Abigail Williams, called Abby, who was 13, had the day off of school. The two 8th graders, both bright and full of life, had made plans. With nothing but a few hours to kill, they decided to hike along the scenic Monon Height Bridge Trail, a favorite spot amongst locals. It started like any other morning, with the two girls just trying to find something to do. Being too young to drive or anything, they decided to do something that was free and would keep their mind entertained for a few hours. They decided to go to this trail. At 1:35 p.m., Libby's older sister, Kelsey, dropped the two girls off near the entrance of the trail. The weather was unusually mild for February in Indiana, making it the perfect day for an adventure. The bridge was a local landmark, a crumbling relic of the past, towering 70 feet above the creek below. It had long been abandoned, but to the local kids it was a rite of passage to walk across the aging wooden planks. The girls walked, laughed, took selfies, and made their way down the trail. But by 2:07 p.m. something changed. Libby, always one to capture moments, took her phone out again, but this time she wasn't recording her friend or the scenery, she was recording him. A man walking towards them. Libby held her phone low, capturing a grainy image of a man in a blue jacket and jeans, his face shadowed by the brim of a cap. He walked with an unsettling purpose, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. The man approached. His gait was steady, measured, and he drew near. Libby did something remarkable, something that would later become one of the most crucial pieces of evidence in this case. She began recording. At 2:13, a voice could be heard, deep, commanding. Guys, down the hill. It was the last time anybody heard from them. By 5:30, panic began to set in. The girls had not returned to their designated pickup spot. Calls to their phones went unanswered. The sun was setting, and the small community of Delphi sprang into action. Parents, neighbors, and local law enforcement joined the search, combing the trails and nearby woods. Most volunteers muttered that they couldn't have went that far. Flashlights beamed, cutting through the darkness trying to find signs of the two girls, but alas, as night fell, there was still no sign of Libby or Abby. The next morning, as dawn brought in the new day, February 14th, Valentine's Day, the search resumed in full force. It wasn't long before the pair of searchers spotted something in the brush near the creek. That's when the town's worst fear were realized. Both girls were dead, their bodies concealed just off the trail near the creek's edge. The exact details of their deaths were gruesome and were held secret until 2024, when the investigators revealed that both of their necks had been slit open. Shockwaves reverberated through Delphi. How could this have happened? Who could have done this, and why? The investigation that followed was one of the most intense in Indiana's history. Authorities quickly honed in on Libby's phone, which had miraculously captured a video and audio of the suspected killer. The grainy image of a man in a blue jacket and the brief recording of his voice became a central piece of evidence. But despite the chilling clues, days turned into weeks, weeks into months, still no arrest. Speculation ran rampant. Who was this man in the video? Was he a local, a transient, someone hiding in plain sight? As seasons passed, Delphi became a town haunted by fear, and the families of Libby and Abby were left with an unshakable grief and unanswered questions. In July of 2019, cops thought they made a discovery. A man was wanted for rape and kidnapping in a nearby county, and he was one of the lead suspects. However, he had died to suicide and was never convicted, not knowing if he was the one that took these two innocent girls' lives. For years, the case seemed to go cold, but then, in October of 2022, finally, they had a breakthrough.
Earlier this week, state police announced 50-year-old Richard Allen is in jail. He's accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German back in 2017. But the Carroll County prosecutor asked a judge to seal all the records in the case, even though those records are supposed to be available to the public. Now, 13 News has been fighting to find out how and why details of the crime are being kept secret.
And that has led to the court releasing even more information. Tonight, our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel joins us with some new details. Bob.
13 Investigates appealed directly to the judge, the prosecutor, and to state court administrators to get answers. Just hours after we sent those emails, the court decided to publicly release more information about the arrest of Richard Allen. We now know Allen's initial bail was set at $20 million. We have an online case summary showing past and upcoming court dates. We have a case number so the public can now follow new details and events in the case. And following our questions, the court posted this notice, setting a date for a public hearing for the judge to determine whether important records in the case will remain under seal. All that information now appears on the state's public court website where anyone can see it, instead of being hidden like it has been for the past 6 days since charges were first filed. What we do not have is the detailed probable cause affidavit, which details why police believe Allen is responsible for the deaths of the 2 Delphi girls. That is supposed to be public and is still being kept under seal. That will be the focus of the public hearing on November 22nd. In response to the questions sent by 13 News, the Chief Public Information Officer for the Indiana Supreme Court contacted the judge handling the Delphi murder case. She included our questions, and she wrote to the judge, "From a PR standpoint, I am concerned that there is a sealed case with no cause number available or known publicly, no probable cause, and no public hearing date to determine if the record should be sealed. I do suggest the court be clear with procedural information on what is public and when or why, according to the rule, it is not public." Following that email, the court released the case number, public hearing date, and case summary details. Also this morning, the judge sent 13 News an email stating he was granting our request to release certain information in the case. Judge Benjamin Diener said he was continuing to withhold the probable cause affidavit based on an Indiana court rule that states, in extraordinary circumstances, a court record that otherwise would be publicly accessible may be excluded from public access if someone makes that request. That rule says the record can remain under seal for a reasonable period of time until the court rules on the request. Again, we expect that ruling to come at or after the public hearing on November 22nd.
And you mentioned Richard Allen's $20 million bond. He's actually still in jail tonight, though.
Yeah, we checked again today. He is still in the nearby White County Jail. He's not in the Carroll County Jail for safety reasons. Now, coming up at 6, more comments from the judge handling this case. I'll tell you about his plea to the state and why he wrote, "I am begging for some assistance to shield me, the court, from this storm." That part of the story is coming up tonight at 6.
Richard Allen, a Delphi resident and pharmacy worker, was arrested. He lived quietly in town, blending into the fabrics of everyday life. Few could have imagined that this man might have been the same one captured in the chilling video, but the authorities believed they finally found their man. But the question still lingered. What was Richard Allen's connection to the girls? Why did he target them? And could there be more to the story than met the eyes? Richard Allen's trial started on October 18th of this year, just a few weeks ago. During the trial, it was stated by Monica Walla, who was Allen's psychologist, that he confessed to the murders of the 2 girls. The lawyers in the case had listened to over 700 voice calls that Allen had made in jail and have confirmed that the voice matches the voice of the man in Libby's video. Another confession was caught on tape on a phone call from Allen to his mother. He confessed that he killed the young girls and has since found Jesus and decided that he needed to go back to God again. It's a little too late for me, you ask. Also, where were these thoughts almost 8 years ago before he decided to end the life of these 2 young girls? As of recording this, the trial is still ongoing. However, it seems to be becoming a closed case by the minute. Sentencing should take place early next year. It is important to note that Indiana also does carry the death penalty. Do with that what you will. As of now, the families of Abby and Libby wait for justice, but the memories of the 2 vibrant girls full of life and promise are forever etched into the heart of Delphi. This is not just a case of 2 lives lost, it's a reminder that evil can hide in the most ordinary places, that one day of carefree fun can turn into a nightmare. Libby's bravery, her decision to record her attacker, may be what finally brings closure to this small town. That is all for this video. I hope that you guys did enjoy. If you did, please click that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back every single Wednesday with a brand new episode of Far From Fiction. Of course, every single Friday we do another episode of Friday Night Campfire Stories where we do a chapter from one of my short stories. And then every Monday, starting this past Monday, we have a brand new series called Echoes from the Past. So you can check out the first episode now. It'll also be out, a brand new episode will be out on Monday. So, like I said, if you did enjoy, please click that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you all next time. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of your day here with me.